This program is provided by Universal Genesis.
Okay, so if you've ever tried to get your head around modern Western philosophy, say everything after the late 19th century, it can feel like a total maze, right?
Oh, absolutely. You hear all these terms thrown around: structuralism, postmodernism, existentialism, analytics. It's just, well, a lot.
Exactly. And we all know that huge moment was Nietzsche declaring God is dead. But what actually happened next? I mean, did Western thought just fall apart?
It definitely felt like a rupture. But the sources we're looking at today offer a much more elegant picture.
Okay, let's unpack this. So the idea is, instead of collapsing into pure chaos, Western thought kind of split neatly.
Sort of neatly, yeah. It channeled itself into three major currents, three distinct streams of thought. We're calling them the three bloodlines for this deep dive.
Three bloodlines. I like that. So what are they inheriting?
It's a fantastic framework, actually. You have the philosophy of life, the substitute for God, and existentialism. And the core idea is that each one basically picked up a different piece of, let's call it the legacy of God, and tried to carry it forward in a secular world.
Okay, that makes sense. So it's not chaos, it's redirection. Why is mapping these three lines so important for us, today? Why not just say things got complicated?
Well, because it shows that the fundamental human questions about meaning, order, how to live, they didn't just vanish. They just put on different outfits, so to speak.
Right.
And if you understand the ancestry, the DNA of each of these lines, you can actually see much more clearly where our current thinking comes from, and maybe even where it's heading.
So our mission today is to trace these lines, find out where they came from, who the key players were, and crucially, how they're shaping the world you live in right now.
Exactly. The modern manifestations are really key.
Okay, let's dive in. Pillar number one, the one that seems to spring most directly from that Nietzschean shock. The philosophy of life.
This one reaches way back, actually. Its roots are arguably in ancient Greek mythology. Specifically, that Dionysian energy, the acceptance of life as this constant, often messy cycle of creation, destruction, force.
Not seeking some perfect static truth outside the world.
Precisely. The big shift here is from chasing a fixed truth to embracing generation or, becoming. It's moving away from that rational, ordered kingdom of reason that really dominated Western thought for centuries.
And moving into what? Like a network?
Into the network of life, exactly. Dynamic, interconnected, always in flux.
And Nietzsche himself is the starting pistol here. God is dead, so humanity has to step up, create its own values, affirm this life, the one we have, with all its struggles.
That affirmation is key. His will to power isn't just domination, it's that creative, generative force.
And the thinkers who pick up this thread really run with that idea of dynamism, don't they? Like Henri Bergson and his Elan Vital.
Yes, the vital impulse, the creative leap of life driving evolution forward. Bergson argued it's something you can't just pin down and measure rationally. It's a constant movement.
It's about life as this, felt experience.
Exactly. Thinkers like Dilthey, Simmel too, they emphasized life as this total lived reality that can't be reduced to logical boxes.
And this line keeps going.
Oh yeah. It gets deeper with Heidegger's work on the disclosure of existence, how being unfolds. Then you see it in Merleau-Ponty's focus on the body, on lived experience, and later Deleuze with his ideas about desire, systems, becoming.
Okay, this is where it gets really interesting for today. This life lineage is apparently having a major resurgence right now.
It absolutely is.
Yeah.
This focus on generation, on things having their own reality, leads directly into some very contemporary movements like object-oriented ontology, new realism, and posthumanism.
Right. Oh, can you break that down simply for us?
Sure. So traditional philosophy for centuries basically put humans right at the center of everything. Objects, things, animals, they only really mattered in relation to us, how we perceive them, how we use them.
Anthropocentric.
Totally. Ooh, just throws that out, says, hang on. Objects, whether that's a rock, a computer program, a forest, a black hole, they have their own existence, their own reality, their own way of interacting with other objects, completely independent of whether humans are thinking about them or not.
Whoa, okay, so it's not just about our experience anymore. It's about this whole web of things, including technology, matter, life forms, all influencing each other.
Exactly. It's a multi-layered coexistence. And that's why some describe it as a return to a kind of polytheistic worldview.
Polytheistic. Meaning not one central god, not one central human consciousness running the show, but lots of different forces, different centers of influence, rocks, algorithms, ecosystems.
Precisely. It's a radical decentering of the human and a big challenge to that single rational structure we inherited.
Okay, that's a massive shift. But if this philosophy of life embraces that kind of decentralized, maybe even chaotic generation, what happened to the deep human need for order, for answers, for, control?
Well, that didn't go away. That impulse funneled directly into our second pillar. The lineage focused on finding a substitute for God.
The secular replacement.
Exactly. This line inherits directly from Christian theology. It takes that powerful monotheistic structure, the idea of a single overarching order, a defined purpose, a path to salvation, and it tries to rebuild it here on earth using secular materials.
And the classic starting point here is Karl Marx.
Definitely. Marx is a perfect example. He looked at religion's promise of heaven, of liberation in the afterlife, and said, no, we can achieve that here on earth.
Through economics and history?
Right. Salvation comes not through God's grace, but through the inevitable march of historical necessity, leading to a communist utopia. He secularized the promise and the pathway.
So the core idea of this bloodline is finding something big enough, powerful enough to sit in God's empty chair.
That's it. And candidates for that seat have included huge concepts like history itself, society, pure human reason, and maybe most powerfully today, science.
You really see this pattern pop up everywhere once you look for it, like Freud.
Freud's a great example. The unconscious becomes this powerful, hidden inner force, almost like an internal God, dictating our actions, our desires. It's this determining power beneath the surface.
And in sociology,
you had thinkers like Durkheim and Comte who basically saw society itself as the ultimate moral authority, a kind of secular deity demanding allegiance and providing order. Social cohesion is a form of worship almost.
even the critics, like the Frankfurt School guys, Adorno, Habermas, they were critiquing reason, but weren't they still kind of searching for a better, more just version of it, like polishing the substitute God?
Absolutely. They were deeply invested in finding a rational basis for ethics and social justice that could still deliver on that promise of a truly ordered, liberated society. The monotheistic impulse for the right answer was still incredibly strong.
And today, where does the substitute for God show up now?
Oh, it's incredibly potent. The modern secular gods are arguably things like AI, technology, the state, maybe even the global market. Think about the concept of techno-theology.
Techno-theology, that sounds intense.
It is. You see it powerfully in, say, Silicon Valley ideology. This pervasive belief that technological progress, especially AI, isn't just a tool we build, but an almost inevitable predestined force.
That will solve everything.
Exactly. That it will inevitably fix climate change, cure disease, maybe even conquer death itself. It's presented as the guaranteed path to salvation, the endpoint of history.
Like the singularity as a kind of secular rapture?
Precisely. It's that belief in one massive, usually technological solution that defines this lineage. It fulfills that deep-seated human craving for a singular, overarching power that guarantees salvation.
Wow. So the ancient need for one ultimate answer just keeps finding new forms. It changes its clothes from religion to ideology to code.
It seems to. The structure persists, even if the content changes.
Okay, that brings us to the third pillar. We've got the decentralized chaos of life, the centralized, often tech-driven control systems of the substitute for God. What's left?
What's left is the individual trying to figure out how to live amidst all this. And that's the domain of our third pillar, existential philosophy.
And its ancestor.
You can trace this one back to the ancient Stoic school. The focus is intensely personal. It's about cultivating inner freedom, ethical self-mastery, finding meaning and dignity within yourself, especially when the world outside feels chaotic or meaningless.
Like Marcus Aurelius writing in his tent.
Exactly. It's about how you orient yourself when the external structures fail or seem absurd.
And the modern starting point.
Generally considered to be Søren Kierkegaard, his insistence that truth is subjectivity, that the individual's passionate commitment, their leap of faith, their actual existence is paramount over abstract doctrines or collective beliefs.
He really put the weight back on the individual, didn't he?
Immense weight. And that sets the stage for the core question of this entire lineage. How do we live? How do you navigate a world where God is silent, where there's no pre-written moral script? It's all about the burden and the possibility of freedom.
That burden sounds heavy.
It is. Think of Sartre being and nothingness, defining that radical freedom where existence precedes essence. You're thrown into the world. You are nothing but what you make of yourself. That's terrifying freedom.
Or Camus.
Camus focused on the absurd, the clash between our longing for meaning and the universe's cold indifference. But he found dignity not in despair, but in revolt, in consciously embracing the struggle like Sisyphus happy with his rock.
So it provided a toolkit for dealing with that post-war anxiety, that sense of meaninglessness.
It absolutely did. But the lineage didn't just stay stuck in individual angst. It evolved.
How so?
Later thinkers started connecting it outwards. You see connections with Wittgenstein, with Levinas's profound work on ethics arising from encountering the other, with Hannah Arendt's focus on action, plurality, and political life. Existence became less about just my inner state and more about how I exist with others.
So it moved from isolation to connection.
Precisely. It matured into what you might call relational existence. The question isn't just how do I cope, but how do we live together ethically?
And modern trends reflect that.
Definitely. Things like care ethics, which emphasizes responsibility, interdependence, and responding to the needs of the vulnerable that flows directly from this evolution. It moves beyond abstract principles to the concrete realities of relationships and community. It even starts to touch on ideas you might find in, say, Eastern thought or Buddhism about interconnectedness.
Okay, so let me try and synthesize this. We've got three engines running modern thought. The philosophy of life giving us this complex, decentralized, almost ecological view of reality.
Right, the multi-layered polytheistic landscape.
Then the substitute for God providing these powerful centralized systems, often technological promising order and solutions.
The drive for the singular secular salvation.
And finally, the existential lineage offering the ethical compass for the individual and for relationships, helping us navigate between the chaos and the control systems.
That maps it up very nicely. And if you layer this onto history, the sources suggest a clear shift in which pillar held the most mainstream energy. So, roughly, the 19th century was really dominated by that substitute for God, thinking big theories of history, society, progress, reason.
Right, the grand narratives.
Then the early to mid-20th century saw a huge focus on existence, grappling with individual freedom, anxiety, absurdity, especially after the World Wars.
The age of anxiety.
But then from the late 20th century onwards, and especially now, the energy seems to be shifting decisively towards that first pillar life.
Towards embracing complexity, generation, relationships, multiple perspectives.
Exactly. The focus is moving towards interconnectedness, ecology, technology as part of life, challenging human centrality.
So what's the big takeaway here? If we pull all this together, what's the headline?
The really striking conclusion you can draw from this framework is that Western philosophy seems to be making a significant turn. It's moving away from its deeply ingrained monotheistic and hyper-rational heritage.
The one God, one truth model.
And returning, in a way, to a kind of polytheistic worldview.
Meaning power and influence are spread out, not concentrated in one place. Not God, not reason, not even man.
That's the implication. A world where diverse forms of existence, living beings, ecosystems, technologies, even forms of matter, are seen as having their own agency, their own influence. It's a shift from seeking the truth to understanding constant generation. It's potentially one of the biggest philosophical shifts in centuries.
Wow. Okay, so we've traced the lines. The Greek Dionysian spirit reborn in life, the Christian blueprint secularized in substitutes, the Stoic core guiding existence. We've seen Marx's earthly heaven, Bergson's vital spark, the rise of technotheology, the grounding of care ethics.
It paints a rich picture of the last 150 years.
It does, and it leaves us with a pretty profound question, doesn't it?
I think so. If this structure is right, if we are moving into a more polytheistic phase where non-human AIs, ecological networks, smart materials, genuinely hold power and influence alongside us.
Then how do we deal with that?
Exactly. What kind of ethical framework do we need to coexist not just with each other, but with these increasingly powerful non-human actors? How do we navigate relationships within this newly complex, decentralized map of reality?
That's not a simple question. It suggests the path forward isn't about finding one answer anymore, but about ongoing ethical conversations with, well, everything. The code, the climate, the cosmos.
That seems to be the challenge this philosophical map lays out for the 21st century. Something for you to definitely mull over.
This program is provided by Universal Genesis.